Come blue and white and we're looking good. You'll be in for a fight and we fight pretty good. Getting goals is our job and we get goals good. Looking good, we are Carlisle United.
Carlisle United, the team that's on the ball. Carlisle United, the team for one and all. You're looking good and we're with you all the way. You'll hear us singing every time you
all we want is a game of football. It's all we're asking for. 90 minutes of football, just to watch Carlisle United play. It's not much, is it, Mike? Is it really? Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Brunton Bugle. We're here for another episode where we're going to preview a game. Preview a game. Hopefully that'll actually happen. But here we are. Your one-stop shop for Carlisle United news and views, from Tony Shepherd to Steve Soley and Pop Robson to Bill Rafferty. We've got it covered. This is episode 34, and today, I think as you said there, basically I think it's just going to be 60 minutes of me and Mike praying in various denominations to whatever deity we can, in the hope that an actual game of bloody football will take place this weekend. And as usual, we'll have the usual roundup of news and views and what ex-United players have been getting up to, as well as a little quiz as well. I've got another quiz for you today, Mike, so we'll go with that. As I've mentioned there, I'm joined by Mike Booth, one of my regular co-hosts. Mate, how's it going?
Yeah, it's going all right. Just praying and hoping. If we've got to do a rain dance in the living room to keep the rain away from Brunton Park this weekend, I'll do it because I'm desperate now. I
don't think rain's ever going to be a problem at Brunton Park, because I can't remember the last time we had a game called off for a waterlogged pitch. I think it was 2006, other than the floods, obviously, because that's just extreme waterlogging, to be fair. I think that's the way you describe that. But yeah, I mentioned it in the preview with Dan at the start of the week. I said, their pitch is always a bit dodgy, and part of me thought, I'd be fine though this time. And then we started hearing on Tuesday morning, there was whispers it was potentially in danger, and then got the news at lunchtime, didn't we? And as we mentioned, it sounded like the players travelled down on the day, so things were a little bit different anyway, so they were able to get back. But just frustrating, isn't it, after that long out? But obviously it gives them a full week basically to get some training as well, which just help.
Yeah, and a home game is probably better than playing at Newport as well, so maybe there's a silver lining to this cloud.
Yeah, I think that's the way to look at it, isn't it, really? Okay, let's get straight into it then. Let's cover some news. There's only one bit of news, really, this week. It's one that sort of broke not long after, or the day after, I think it was, we recorded the pod. So it's the fact that Max Hunt has completed his permanent move to Yeovil, so I think it's probably going to be the last bit of transfer news we'll hear in this window, barring any injuries or silly money offers for players. So yeah, he's completed a permanent move to Yeovil Town, 6'6" centre-back. He found chances hard to come by, really, since he moved from Derby County to United last January. But I'd say he certainly looked a decent prospect in the games he played, didn't he, Mike?
Yeah, he didn't look a bad play, and I think he's just unlucky that the players that we do have in that position are better. It's not that he wasn't good enough, it's just that other players are better, really.
Yeah, I seem to remember he made his debut, didn't he? I think we went to the game, didn't it? It was against Oldham last season. Yeah, it was a cracking day out we had there. Beck came in for me, you and Johnny, didn't it? And Johnny managed to ruin his trainers on some oil in a bit of wasteland while trying to go for a wee, which is that's Johnny. That's you shout out for this week, Johnny. I'm sure you'll be delighted to hear that one, because we've been rinsing it for about 12 months since, haven't we? Really. So there you go. Yeah. So obviously Hunt, he initially actually signed for the Glovers on loan on Boxing Day. He had a debut to remember when they were hammered by tabletoppers Torquay, but actually the return fixture was only a few days later. You forget they do this in the conference, don't they? They have those derby fixtures of Christmas like we had with Morecambe, and then they basically play the same fixture again over New Year. And they actually won the reverse fixture. And they've had a bit of a revival and started to move up the table because they were struggling down near the bottom. And I think he's played a big part in that by all accounts. He's signed a contract with them until the summer of 2022. It doesn't sound like a transfer fee's been involved, but I'd imagine we've probably just said he can go for free, but there's maybe like a 25%, 30% sell-on clause in there in case he does turn out to be...
We love a sell-on clause.
Oh, yeah, absolute bastard for a sell-on clause, aren't we? But there you go. Okay, before we get into the match preview stuff... First up, reminder of the bobble hat competition. Obviously, the deadline for this is Sunday night at midnight. So if you've been listening to the last couple of episodes, you'll know that we've We're currently running a competition with our friends from footballbubbles.com for the chance to win a Carlisle United 94-95 Walling bobble hat, courtesy of our friends at footballbubbles.com. This follows up on the reversible bucket hat, which they released last September and is obviously named after the legendary United defender Dean Walling. So we've got one hat to give away as well as 4 run-up prizes, which are Carlisle United 94-95 pin badges. We'll also give one of those badges to the winner of the hat too. To be in the chance of winning, just answer this really easy question. In October 1997, after 296 appearances and 29 goals for the club, Dean Walling was sold by United owner Michael Knighton, much to the anger of the Blue Army faithful. But to which club did Knighton sell Dino? To enter, you just got to post your answer either on the Facebook post for this episode on the Be Just and Fear Not Facebook group. You can either reply to us on Twitter or you can email bruntonbugle@gmail.com. As I mentioned, the competition closes on Sunday the 31st of January. It's a really easy one to answer because everyone else has put the answer in the obviously comments on the Facebook post. So not tough, just literally just post the answer in there and you're in a chance of winning. And we'll draw it on the next episode next week when we'll be previewing I think it's the Cheltenham and the Harrogate games, I think. Or the Leighton Orient, one of the two anyway. I can't remember which midweek game we got coming. Got so many games coming up in the near future. I just can't remember. So that's the quiz. Sorry, the competition covered. So, Mike, it's now time for the quiz. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask this question, but I'm going to give you a bit of thinking time over the episode, and we'll come back to it after we do the X-Files stuff at the end of the episode. Yeah. So I've been doing a little bit of digging this week and looking and seeing. I'm just curious, thinking about Carlisle United players who've played in cup finals, or for other clubs, obviously for major cup finals. And I had a look back, and it turns out there's been, I think it's 16 different players who've played in the League Cup final since 1990, including 1990, who've also played for Carlisle United at some point in their career or managed Carlisle United. They either played or managed the club. There's been 16 different players since 1990. There's also actually been 21 in total, but some of those are multiple times. So I'll come back to that actually at the end of the episode, but I want to know how many of those 16 players you can name. So everyone at home can play along with this as well and try and work out. There's 16 different players. So we'll come back to that one, Mike. I'm sure that'll have you scratching your head a little bit, that one. There you go. So yeah, we've got no match to review again. So let's get straight into the preview, Mike. So basically 2 games, home games in a row against 2 sides from the southwest of England who we narrowly lost to in the reverse fixtures earlier this season. So first up, it's United v Exeter this weekend, Saturday the 30th of January. It's a 1 o'clock kick-off, this one. So nice and early, get out of the way and you can enjoy the rest of your day. Referee is Martin Coy. He last ref United in the 3-2 win over Colchester earlier this season. I think he gave Colchester a penalty in that game, didn't he, for a handball. I think it was a blatant. When I watched it at the time, when I first saw it, I thought, looks a bit dodgy that. But actually, when you watch it back, it is a blatant handball. I think by Rod McDonald. So there you go. We've done the whole history and stuff about clubs in the first half of the season. So I'm doing random history and facts about towns in the preview episodes for the second half of the season. So here's some facts about Exeter that I've managed to find out. So Exeter Guildhall is apparently the oldest civic building in Britain. Parts of the building date back as far as 1160. Exeter was founded by the Romans, was once called Isca, and was the tribal capital of the Domnorium. I get this right. Hang on. I should have checked this before I started, really, shouldn't I? It would have been the best thing to do. Domnoriums. There you go. I think I've got it third time of asking. There are 7 other places around the world called Exeter, including towns in Canada, Pennsylvania, and Illinois. Exeter, Illinois. Thank you. Thank you for correcting my pronunciation there, Mr. I've been to America a few times, but there you go. Exeter was the last place where a woman was trialled and executed for witchcraft, apparently. Interesting one, that. The Royal Clarence Hotel is the oldest in Britain, which was built in 1769, and some parts can be dated back to the 1500s. They're like basically saying buildings are old if some part of it can be dated back to a long period, can't they? Famous people that come from Exeter include J.K. Rowling, Chris Martin, Tommy Cooper and William Temple, among others. Head-to-heads. Exeter's one of those clubs that are actually ahead of us in Exeter head-to-head. So if you're looking at overall games, basically we've won 19. There's been 18 draws and Exeter won 27 times. When I look back at the actual head-to-head records, we had a long period where we just never seemed to win against Exeter. Really, really long period that happened for. Last time we played, it was quite a tight encounter. This wasn't it? First half of the season when we played against them. I think they were sort of quite near the top at this point, and we were sort of pushing towards the playoffs. They nicked it by a single goal scored by Tom Parks, former United defender. Gimme Tory was sent off in this game, rightly sent off for his rutting against, I can't remember, was it Jake Taylor? I think it was, who was challenged him. But it should be noted that the lad did stamp on Toure and got away with it and didn't even get a retrospective ban for it, did he?
No.
I don't seem to remember, so a bit of a harsh one, that one. They started the season, the Grecians, in good form and found themselves in the top 3 at one point, but spent a decent chunk of time in the playoffs, actually. But their recent drop-off of form has seen them win just 1 in the last 6 games, a 3-1 victory over strugglers Stevenage. The other games were 3 draws and 2 defeats, and they've dropped down to 9th place in the table on 36 points. They're just 3 points behind United, but they've played 2 games more. No team has scored more goals in League Two than them, 44 goals. It's 12 more than United have scored, even with the extra 2 games. The next nearest team is 5 behind on 39. Who do you reckon the next nearest team in terms of goals is? Mike?
Is it Cambridge?
It's not Cambridge. I thought it was Cambridge, but then I looked down the table and spotted someone else who has scored more. Who do you think it is?
So you said you've gone down the table, so is it Tranmere?
Nope. Oldham Athletic.
Oh, really?
Oldham Athletic in 15 play have scored 39 goals. Problem for Oldham is they've also let in 45 goals, which is, looking down the table, the worst in the division. So that tells you a lot, doesn't it? Second best goal scorers, but actually the worst defence in the whole division. It's amazing, actually. We look down the table, one of the best defences in the division is Stevenage.
Yeah, no, it's weird, isn't it?
Third bottom. It's kind of weird the way some things work out, isn't it? So there you go. I'm going to look at a couple of analytics here. I noticed the Fox Analytics guys done a little preview of the game this weekend. So I'm just going to go through a few things and we'll retweet the link to their stuff. It's some really interesting stuff in there, actually. So, I mean, Exeter have got a really good conversion rate in terms of their shots. They take an average 13 shots per game, according to who's scored. We take 17 per game, but they've obviously scored a lot more goals, and it's 12 more goals. So it shows that they take significantly less shots in terms of scoring goals than we do. A big reason for this is 2 of their big attacking players, which are Matt Jay and obviously Ryan Bowman, seem to get into really good areas and score quite often. The interesting thing that stood out for me is the fact that they are a high-pressing side as well. Much like us, they're second, apparently, in the league in terms of the statistic they use. I don't know how it works out in terms of pressing. They come second. Top is United. So this should be a high-energy game. Should be quite an entertaining. I think the game down there was quite a good game, wasn't it? But even with, it was down to 10 men. It's one I anticipate. It's one of the ones you're anticipating a lot of goals, but it probably end up being a 0-0 or a 1-0, won't it? It'd just be absolutely typical for there you go.
Well, I can't see that at all, to be honest. I think there's definitely going to be goals in it for both teams.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll post the link up to that Fox Analytics article, well worth a look at. Their manager is Matt Taylor. I think we mentioned this before. Converted. He was started his career as a goalkeeper and was converted to a centre back when he moved into non-league football and started his studies at university. Came up through Team Bath, their university side, who played in the league for a short while. I don't know if they still do. He was a former Exeter player. He actually took over. He was captain of the club. He took over from Paul Tisdale in the summer of 2018. They narrowly missed out on the playoffs in his first season, but he did get them into the playoffs last season, and obviously it was a curtailed campaign, but saw them comfortably beaten 4-0 by Northampton Town in the final. I remember watching that game, and they really, really were poor in that game. It was quite surprising and quite a disappointment, really, because I think they've made something like 4 or 5 of the last playoffs, and they still haven't managed to get up, and they just don't seem to be able to get over the last hurdle.
But in that Northampton game, Northampton managed to stop the opposition from playing, and then they played because that's what they do. Well, or did when
did did be in the opposite way because they're not doing that this season under Keith Cohen, are they? Certainly not. Well, there you go. They seem to have a bit of faith in him, though, the Grecian squad. He's one of the longest-serving managers in the league. I think he's fifth longest-serving at the moment. He's currently got a win percentage of 44.1% as Grecian boss, which is a pretty decent return, I think it's fair to say. They've got a good mix of experience and quality youngsters in the squad. I think the one who stood out for me, I can't remember if you remember, Mike, from the game, was Randall Williams. He looked really impressive on the right wing. I mean, you look at the players they've produced over the years. Your likes of Matty Grimes, I think it is, and obviously Ampadu, who's at Sheffield United on loan at the moment from Chelsea. Yeah. Some really, really good players, and Jayden Stockley, I think, who's at Preston, who's, I don't know if he's done particularly well there or not, but he's one who's done really well at Exeter in the past. But yeah, Williams is one who stands out. I picked up some key men here. I could have picked Tom Parks at the back, but I've actually picked Pierce Sweeney. He's only about 5'11", I think, but he's I think converted from right back to centre back, and he's done a really good job for them there. Nicky Law in midfield has always been a quality player at this level, and obviously Williams, who previously mentioned, and Ryan Bowman, one of the two ex-United players in the squad. And Bowman is one of those players players who come through our youth system and don't make it to the first team. Very, very rarely do they then go on to have Football League careers, don't they? I can't think of too many in the distant past who have done. I mean, I'm talking about players who barely make an appearance. I don't really count Mark Beck because he made a decent number of appearances for us when he came through.
I'm
thinking Ben Richards Everton maybe is the only other one I can think of, and he didn't even get a professional contract, and he's now dropped back into non-league with Barnet, having left Bradford recently. Yeah, he's one of those ones, isn't he, Bowman? He's done really well for himself, and you look at him now. I remember when he came through for us, he was like a rake, wasn't he? He was a tall lad, but he was quite skinny, and you look at him now, he's definitely worked on that, and he's a big, strong target man, and he's getting his rewards now, playing up front for them.
I remember some of his appearances for us, he'd like come off the bench and play on the wing.
He was playing on
and he'd get shoved off the ball quite easily, like some young players do, but he seems to have really sort of, learnt his trade in non-league and against bricklayers and what have you, kicking the crap out of him, and he seems to be a good rounded Football League striker now. Yeah,
and obviously he's had his time down in the southwest and then moved up to Scotland with Motherwell and did really well there by all accounts, and he's now had his move to Exeter and he's doing really well there, and he's getting his rewards, and well done to the lad. In terms of team news, I said this in the last episode, it's really hard to predict, isn't it? It's just we don't know who. I mean, we know that Tanner and Devine are both out. Tanner seems to be closing in on a return potentially. Hopefully, we'll get some good news on that one soon. We know there's a couple of players possibly still out with COVID from what Chris Beach has said this week. So we'll have to wait and see. I don't think there's any point trying to work out who it is.
No,
we'll find out on Saturday. And the younger member of the squad who's had COVID sounds like he's still struggling, and we wish him all the best. Hopefully he can recover soon. Just your general thoughts on this game, Mike? I think it's potentially, as you said there, I think it's going to be a really entertaining game, this one.
Yeah, I think that we'll start really well because I think our players have just been absolutely gagging to get out on the pitch and play. But I think it might be one of them similar to other games this season, so like the Newport home game, where we start really well. We have an amazing first half, but then second half it kind of slips a little bit. So I'm going to say 3-2 Carlisle, but I reckon our first goal is going to be in like the first 5-10 minutes.
Oh, you already got your prediction in there as well.
Yeah.
Who do you reckon the goal scorers then?
I reckon John Mellish will get 2 and Reece Bennett as well.
Oh, that's good to hear. I went for Mellish and Patrick, didn't I, for last time? I agree. I think it's going to be 3-2 as well. I'm going to go with that. I think it's going to be a free scoring game. Exeter going to have a real good go as well. I think our defence might be a little bit rusty just because of the time off potentially. Goal scorers, I'll stick with it again. I'm going to go with John Mellish. Coyote will get 1, and Callum Guy, go on. Callum Guy's going to finally get his goal for this season. He owes us one, I think.
I'm sure you say that every week.
Every other week I try and sort of ease off from occasionally. But yeah, it's one of those ones, isn't it? How do you pick? I mean, I think the starting lineup. Let's presume. Let's not try and presume who's missing due to COVID. Your starting lineup, Farman's going to be in goal, isn't he? I don't think you've got any doubts there. Your back four, that's the bit where maybe you've got some decisions to make. I think Bennett and Hayden definitely start whatever. I think Anderton will start if he's fit. I can't see how he wouldn't, because he's captain. I know that Armour's done well since he's been out, but I think he'll pick his strongest team. The question then is, does McDonald play and Hayden move out to right back, or does Armour play and Hayden stay at centre back alongside Bennett? It's a tough one. What would you go with there?
I mean, to be honest, I'd probably... So I'm not a fan of square pegs in round holes, but you kind of have to a little bit. And I'd probably go for Armour at right back, to be honest, over Hayden at right back. Even though McDonald has looked all right when he's come in, I just think you want that centre back pairing,
I think
ideally.
In a game like this, I think I'm probably more inclined to agree with you, simply because you're coming up against such a good centre forward, like Ryan Bowman, and obviously he's back up Jay as well. He's Matt Jay, I think he's doing really well from this season. Because normally I'm not a massive fan of left backs playing at right back, particularly when they're not that strong on their right foot. And you can get away with some. I mean, we've seen when we had Gethin Jones playing at left back, he looked fine there. He was fairly comfortable on his left foot. He didn't look out of place. Whereas Armour, I know he's done well when he's played at right back, but I think he's looked much better when he's played at left back so far. It's one of the ones Hayden looks very comfortable playing at right back. It's a really tough decision, but I think I'd probably agree with you. I think I'd probably drop McDonald down to the bench and put Armour at right back potentially. So you're looking at either one of those two is going to be on the bench, aren't they, you'd think?
Yeah.
Midfield, I think it picks itself if they're fit. Mellish, Riley and Guy. That's your first choice at the end of the day. Beyond that, attack. Again, if they're fit, the front three is just the one that's been starting. Patrick, Coyote and Alessandra. The challenge comes with the subs, doesn't it? So obviously Norman's going to be a sub. Then the question is, do you put two defenders on there in Feeney and McDonald? Or do you put just one of them on there? And then do you go... I mean, you're going to have charters on there, aren't you? Because you've got to have a youth product on there.
Yeah.
That's one position taken up. What do you do? Do you put Furman on as well? I think Josh Dixon will probably miss out. I mean, we're sure of that. Do you put Furman on there as another midfielder? But then it leaves
possibly.
Then you've only got two attackers potentially on the bench. Or do you maybe... You leave out, if you leave one of the defenders out, you can put three attackers on. So then, who have you got to pick from? You've got Zanzala, Toure, Walker, Dickinson.
Dickinson, yeah.
I mean, maybe you leave one of those defenders out and put Dickinson on there, knowing he can play at fullback.
Yeah, that's
probably your option. And then obviously, basically, you've got Kedwin Scott as well. And I think Kedwin Scott will miss out. That's my opinion. I think he's maybe just not quite ready. He'll get his chances in this run of games, I'm sure. But I think you'd have Walker, Toure and Zanzala as your free attacking subs, probably.
Yeah. I mean, Beach seemed to be indicating the other day that we want to be using the sort of the 5 subs that you're allowed now, obviously.
We won't have any choice in this run. We won't, because the players are going to be knackered in games, and it's going to be useful at times to potentially maybe bring 2 players on at half time and make things a bit easier for them. Then you've got 3 sub options.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, you've got to do it in your tranches, haven't you, basically? If you don't make subs at half time, you can only do the 5 subs in 3 separate sub tranches. So
yeah.
That's the key to it, isn't it? So, it'll be interesting to see what Beach does. We don't know the players are out. That's the other issue as well. I mean, if one of your defenders is out, then that makes your decision for you in terms of those bits, doesn't it? So you never know. You never know. So I think that's covered the Exeter stuff. We'll take a little break now. Actually, we'll come back in a second, and what we'll do is then we'll run through the stuff to do with the Forest Green game. So we'll be back in just a second. Hello everyone, we're back. It's time for part 2 now, so we're going to review the next of the double headers against the South West teams at Brunton Park. It's Forest Green Rovers. We play them on next Tuesday night, the 2nd of February. 6 o'clock kickoff. This is a weird one, isn't it? We've got some I think someone posted on Twitter, we've got a weird run of kickoff times coming up. We've got 6 o'clock, 6:30, 7 p.m. and then the Tranmere game is still down at the moment as being 7:45. I imagine that one will change. Not 100%.
Yeah, you'd think so.
You'd think that the likelihood is that one will switch soon. So yeah, against Forest Green Rovers, the referee is Declan Bourne. He's never reffed a Man United, Carlisle United game before. It's his first season as an EFL ref, and he still hasn't handed out a red card. I've said it. I've done it. There you go. Absolutely nailed on now. Yeah. Thank you. I'll take the hit on that one. Red cards always make games more entertaining, I think, anyway. So there you go.
Yeah, well, I think our lads will be out. Well, I know. I was thinking we're still on about the Exeter game. Ignore me. I was going to say our lads will be out to get that lad in the Exeter game who were stamped on gimme, but this isn't the Exeter game we're on about, so whatever.
No, it's not. It's the Forest Green game. So well done there, Mike. Interesting facts about Nailsworth, which is obviously the town that Forest Green Rovers are based in. Fingrel. The music from the hymn "O Little Town of Bethlehem" is taken from the song Forest Green, which was collected by Ralph Vaughan Williams in the area in 1903. He's a local composer. That's an interesting fact for you, isn't it, Mike?
That is so interesting.
I think Forest Green is actually an area of Nailsworth, and that's who Forest Green Rovers obviously are named after as well. Three-time Olympic rowing gold medalist Pete Reed grew up in the town of Nailsworth, where Forest Green Rovers are based. He was actually born in Seattle in USA, so he's not British, he's not from the town, but he grew up in the town basically. So that's literally the most famous person I could find from Nailsworth. There's a farmers market in the town every fourth Saturday of the month, and they still have a town crier that announces major events. That's it. That's my facts. That's all I've got. Beyond the football related stuff, that is all that I've got.
Well, one thing, and I think you missed it out last time, is it's the highest stadium in the Football League. It is
indeed. That's a fair point. You've been. I've never been Forest Green. It's one of those ones. It's never quite fallen for me. What's actually like to go to as a game? Because it always makes me think. Like it's weird. Because I said this on the episode we did before Christmas. It's basically a town about the size of Wigton, isn't it? It's tiny.
Yeah, it's absolutely tiny, but it's dead weird. So the ground is like on top of this big hill, but at the bottom of the hill is where like your pubs are, your chippies, and all the rest of it. And so the pub doesn't sell food. Right, but they say it's all right. You can go into the chippy, you can get a fish and chips, and you can bring it into the pub and have it with your pint. So you think, oh, that's great. So you have your chippy and you have about 5 or 6 pints before the game, but then you have to walk up what is honestly like Mount Everest, full of fish and chips and full of, southwestern cider and just. Oh, it's hell, honest to God. Like it's one of them away games. I've done it once, I've ticked it off, and I'm not doing it again.
You're going to have to, because I need to go. So we're going to go next time. We're going to hang out with the guys from the Heavens Devils podcast, hopefully, because they said if they could come over for a game, hopefully they're going to try and time it when we play them. Hopefully in League One next season, because we're both right up there, aren't we? So far this season, and brings it nicely on. Obviously, the head-to-head. We're just ahead in this at the moment. We've won 4. Forest Green have won 3, and 2 of the games have been draws. That's in the league. In the cup, we've also won 1 as well, and we've drawn 1 from last season. It was another tight encounter, this one, wasn't it? The reverse fixture earlier just before Christmas. I remember watching this one, and it just felt, with the weather and the conditions, it was always a feeling of, if one team scores here, that'll be it. That's game over. There's not going to be another goal. And I don't think it was that tight. And the goal that came, it was unusual, and it was a bit of probably poor defending from Reece Bennett, and probably the only bit of poor defending we've seen from him since he joined us. He got just a bit too tight on Jamil Matt, and he was able to turn him and almost just like scuff the ball into the net from close range, wasn't he? It's one of those games as well where Toure was unlucky not to score again. I think he hit the post twice, didn't he? And
he fluffed an absolute sitter, I remember, that the keeper sort of saved quite easily.
I remember seeing this one. I don't think it's as much of a sitter as it looks, and I don't think the conditions help much in this game in terms of anyone really playing any sort of good football. And hopefully the conditions will be a bit better on Tuesday night for this one at least. So Rovers have had a really impressive first half of the season. They've been in the playoff positions bar 1 week, pretty much since the 5th game of the campaign. Since beating the Blues just before Christmas, their form's actually seen a drop-off, though. But they've managed to jumped back into the top 3 last weekend thanks to a 1-0 win over Leyton Orient. This game was moved because we were supposed to play them last weekend, and this game was actually moved from the Tuesday night so they could play it on a weekend instead. I think we've said this before, we're going to see this happening a little bit more often, aren't we, when games drop out basically over weekends and teams have 3 weekends where a couple of teams aren't playing but they aren't actually affected by coronavirus. So been to see that happen a bit more often. They've still not been top of the league though this season, which is quite incredible. What they are though, they are on a run of 10 consecutive away games where they've scored. So the only 2 teams who've kept clean sheets against them at home. I put down Colchester and Forest Green here, so I've messed up basically. But I think it's Colchester and Salford City are the only 2 teams who've kept clean sheets against them this season at home. That's quite an impressive record. So they score goals away from home. No doubt about that.
Although we do have a habit of ending teams' runs.
So well, hopefully
whether it's a good run or a bad run, Carlisle will end it. So
we can only hope. Their manager's Mark Cooper. I think we said it before, he's one of the longest serving bosses in the league. He's done quite an impressive job getting them into the Football League for the first time. He was a player for them in the noughties as well. I think he played a couple of seasons with them. Returned to the club in 2016, and in that first season he got them up via the playoffs, beating Tranmere Rovers in the final at Wembley. They've got a reputation of playing some decent football. I think their owner Dale Vinci, obviously he's big on the old ecotricity stuff, isn't he? He's you're a big fan of that, aren't you, Mike? We'll discuss that shortly. But yeah, he's I think he seems to want to encourage them to bring in good young footballers and look to sell them on, and that's quite evident this season. I mean, Carl Winchester left them is not so much a young footballer. He's gone to Sunderland. But Liam Kitchen is a young player they brought through, and he's gone to Barnsley for a big fee. I think 600,000 was talked about. They seem to, bring these young lads in and basically train them up as much as they can, and then look to cash in on the transfer fee. And it's not a bad model to have really for a lower league club, especially one that doesn't get particularly big crowds, is it? Yeah,
I think ever since the non-league games, the days, they've always sort of picked up like rejects from the sort of likes of, they're not a million miles from like Portsmouth, who at that time were very good, and both Bristol clubs. And, with their location, very much like us, it's hard for them to attract good players, but I think they just they attract non-big names, make them into good players, and then obviously they move on.
Yeah, it's not a bad model to have, and I think we sort of said it before, haven't we? They're looking to move to this big new stadium, which is nearer to the M5 motorway, basically. So they'll move out of Nailsworth is the long-term aim, and they want to be more of a county club rather than a small town club, don't they? And attract people in, and that's probably the best way they're going to get bigger crowds, because I think they've probably saturated the market in Nailsworth and Stroud and nearby as much as they can, and they probably need people who can easily access the ground. To be coming to the games. And he's a controversial fella, Dale Vince, but fair play to him. He's doing his bit, and he's trying to do something a bit different. And you see all these football clubs who come in and just throw money at it and whatever, but he's trying to build a sustainable football club in all forms, basically, in terms of on and off the pitch. And we mentioned there before, Mike, you're a big fan of the old eco side of things, aren't you?
Yeah, I drive a hybrid.
Never mention it. Yeah, I never mention it when we're chatting with it. But one of our greatest achievements was driving to Northampton, wasn't it? And managing to get it over 60 miles to the gallon on your hybrid.
Living the dream.
Living the dream. Let's pick out some of the key men there. That's enough of our talking about our hybrid cars. Picked out a few key men here. I think, obviously, they lost Kitchen in January transfer window. He was a key man for them in defence. They replaced him with Bailey Cargill from MK Dons, who, by all accounts, is a decent player himself and has done pretty well in his opening games for them. In midfield, they've got Abu Adams, who's always been a good player against us, and Odin Bailey's on loan from Birmingham City. I think, similar to us with Coyote, they had a few concerns, didn't they, that he was going to go back to Birmingham City in January, but Birmingham said, no, he can stay there and carry on his loan, and he looked quite impressive, I think, in the game down there. Did. I like the look of him. And up front, Jamil Matt is always going to get you goals, isn't he, at this level? Big, strong target man, and a bit older than the rest of the squad. He's more a player who had a bit of experience in there, and he's certainly doing that for them this season. No ex-players in their squad either. Let's quickly do predictions then for this one. I think Well, I think the Exeter game is going to be an open one. I think this one will be a lot tighter. I think they're two very evenly matched teams, and it'll be similar to the game down there, in my opinion. I'm going to go for a 1-0 win to United. I think it's either 1-0 win or 1-1 draw. I'm sort of struggling between the two, but I'm going to be positive and go for a 1-0 win. And I think we'll see a goal from Ethan Walker coming on as a sub.
Yeah, well, see, I was going to go for 1-1 draw. So you're sort of the same mindset as me, to be honest. I think the players might be a little bit tired after the Exeter game. But I'll go for Taylor Charters to score. Why not?
Okay. You reckon he's going to come on as a sub maybe? Or maybe if Mellish isn't fully fit?
Yeah, maybe.
I'll have to wait and see with that one. Okay, that's the preview stuff done. So let's move on now to the X-Files stuff. There's not a huge amount to cover again here today. As usual, we've been compiling this in our WhatsApp group. Dan very diligently keeps an eye on the video printer and sees who's scoring goals across the leagues. Goals this week. Kyle Dempsey scored for Gillingham. Seems to be doing fairly well for them this season. I think he's their captain, isn't he?
Yeah. He's brought in as like the main man.
Yeah, I think he's got I think he built up quite a decent relationship with Steve Evans when he was on loan at Peterborough. And I think Evans
not many players do that.
Well, you say that. I think a lot of it's kind of a weird one, isn't it? When you play against him, I think a lot of players hate him and he's just, because it's called gnarly characters. But people who've played for him talk quite positively about him and working with him, I think. So he's one of those ones. I don't think I'd like him managing my club, personally, but he seems to do well wherever he goes, so fair play to him. Other goal scorers, Cole Stockton, getting Morecambe into the top 3. He's absolutely flying this season, isn't he? It doesn't look like the play we had, to tell you that much. So yeah, he's doing pretty well. Ryan Loft as well, doing very well at Scunthorpe. He got a brace in midweek.
He was in Team of the Week as well, wasn't he?
He was in Team of the Week. Well, that's because there's no Carlisle players playing at the moment.
Yeah.
So it's easy for anyone to get in there right now.
Yeah.
Does the day end under why? Yes, well, Jerry Yates has scored, hasn't he? Another goal for Blackpool. Charlie White, similar, scoring another goal for Sunderland. I think they beat Ipswich in midweek, didn't they? They're doing really well this season.
I think Wyker's like 5 in his last 3 for Sunderland or something ridiculous.
He is flying this season. We said this before, he's a confidence player, isn't he? Once he gets goals, he just can't stop scoring them. And one at the left field here, one we haven't heard for a while. Sean McGinty scored for Greenock Morton in midweek. So there you go. There's a name blast from the past. Mr. 1 minute wonder. Literally played 1 minute of football for Carlisle United. Shortest Carlisle United career ever. Transfers. One we forgot to mention actually last weekend. Nicky Adams has left Northampton Town. Got himself another move. He's joined Oldham Athletic. I don't think he'd played for Oldham before he joined them, had he? So I think he's actually completed the holy trinity of North and Manchester sides, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think so. But I think they played him at right back the other day. Yeah,
I've noticed that because I watched the lineups on the thing, and I think they've got some good wingers there already. And I think with his age and that, I think they think he can actually do a decent job playing at fullback now. But yeah, it's the first time. I just double checked there. It is the first time he's played for Oldham. So he's played for pretty much every Northwest Manchester club you can get. You've got Bury, Rochdale, and Oldham, and
he loves a signing on fee.
He bloody doesn't he? He loves his moves, doesn't he? He's played for a fair few clubs down the years. I mean, you look at this. I mean, he's moved pretty much every year for every couple of years at least for a long time now. So yeah, we missed that one. Andy Cook is on the move. He's left Mansfield to join Bradford City on loan till the end of the season. He's just not quite settled in the Football League yet, has he? He's done so well at non-league level, but he's done okay. But he's not done as well, I think, as anyone expected. Interestingly, he's joined, I think it's Danny Rose gone there, hasn't he, from Oldham. He's joined Bradford. I've never been that impressed with him, but the Oldham fans seem to be absolutely furious that they've let him go. Interesting move, that one.
Well, neither of them, Rowe or Cook, do a lot of running for the team. And
no, they're not.
Bradford are at the wrong end of the table, and you're thinking, is that really the kind of strike partnership that'll pull you away from that?
Possibly not, but Bradford are flying. They're one of the form teams in the division.
Well, that's true, yeah.
Maybe they think that, maybe they do. And the last bit of news is it's not happened yet, but it seems to be on the verge of being completed. Sam Cosgrove is about to complete a move to Birmingham City by the looks of things. Suggested fees around about £2 million. And despite what Derek McInnes claims, we have got a sell-on clause in this one. Various talks about what it is, but the suggestion seems to be it's at least 20%. So it's between 20-30%. And I know that from what we can gather is the way sell-on clauses work now, you don't have to wait for all the add-ons to happen now. Basically, you get your selling clause from that initial fee, basically. So even if the original fee is something like £1 million, and then they get another $500,000 in 6 months, another $500,000 6 months after that, we'll get our chunk from that initial fee, basically the full chunk. So if it's 20%, then 40%, sorry, 400 grand. Not to be sniffed at, is it, really?
No, exactly.
In this day and age,
we love sell-on clauses.
We absolutely do love them, don't we? But there you go. Okay, Mike, that's the X-Files rounded up. So let's move on to the quiz question now that we asked at the start of the show. So I want you to name as many of the 16 different players, ex-Carlisle United players or managers who've played in a League Cup final since 1990. So get yourself going.
Graham Kavanagh.
That's one. Yes, you've got one there.
Yeah, I want to say Pascal Chimbonda.
Pascal Chimbonda is correct twice.
Yeah.
He played for Wigan Athletic in 2006, the same final as Graham Kavanagh, and also for Spurs too late in 2008.
Yeah, I want to say Matt Jansen.
Matt Jansen is correct. He won it in 2002 with Blackburn Rovers.
Yeah. Now, this is a bit of a stab in the dark because I know that he played sort of around the top level, but Michael Bridges?
Is incorrect. Michael Bridges never played. Leeds have struggled to make finals for anything for quite a long time, so no, sadly not. So far, let me just double check this before we go any further because I'll make sure you got them. So you've got Cav, Pascal Chimbonda. Who else? Jansen.
Yeah.
Is that all you've got so far? I think
that's all I've got so far. I'm really struggling. I'm guessing someone like because I'm trying to think of the teams that have been in the League Cup final more recently, and I think you're sort of halfway there then. I'm at a loss.
I'll start giving you some clues. So the two most recent ones involve teams that weren't in the Premier League when they got to the final, and one of them was actually in League Two.
So Bradford City, were they in the final? Yeah. And at that time, who did they have that used to play for us?
When I say play for us, I'll give you a clue. He only played a couple of games.
Oh, I haven't got a clue.
God, you can't tell this one. Someone who fans constantly berate the fact that we let him go.
That's quite a few players, to be fair.
One that Greg Abbott let go. Well, again, that's
Naki Wells.
Naki Wells. There you go. So Naki Wells in 2013 with Bradford City. The year before, a non-Premier League side made it to the final. I'll give you another clue. A non-English side. A non-English.
Danny Graham.
No, not Danny Graham. You've got the wrong Welsh side, basically.
Okay.
So it's Cardiff City, basically, is the club in 2012.
Yeah. I'm trying to think who played for us that played for Cardiff. Gary Medine.
Nope.
Oh.
This is 2012. We're going back 9 years here.
Quite a few years now. I haven't got a clue.
Okay, he's a centre-back. He played for us a couple of seasons ago.
No.
He's got a more famous cousin.
No idea.
Oh, God, I can't believe you're not getting... All right, he got into a fight with a steward at Bury a couple of seasons ago.
Anthony Gerrard.
You missed a penalty in the final for Cardiff City that season.
Because a big deal was made of it because they were against Liverpool, weren't they? And is it playing against said famous cousin?
He was indeed, yeah. And like I said, missed a penalty in the final as well. So there you go. Okay, let me see. I'm trying to give you more clues here. Okay, right. When I say played, a couple of them as well were unused subs. I should say they were in the lineup. So that I should have said there. So only some of them though, not many of them. So okay, let's go with another one. Okay, two of them are goalkeepers. I'll give you a clue. One was in 2009 for Tottenham Hotspur.
Is it Anik?
He was Ben Anik, yes. He was an unused sub that day. Well done. Okay. The next one, 2005 for Chelsea.
Lenny Pidgley, of course.
Lenny Pidgley, indeed. There you go. Okay, I'm going back in time with my clues here, so to make it a little bit easier. Okay, I think we've covered the ones going back to Jansen in 2002 now. So the next one up. Now, there's two here One of them technically shouldn't count. It's a bit of a funny one. I put it in as a joke almost. Okay. It was when Birmingham City made the final in 2001. I think they lost to Liverpool in the final this year. One of them was a winger. And he was signed by Roddy Collins, I think, just a couple of years later, actually.
Ooh. No, I'm struggling. Hang on. It's not Brunton Bugle, is it?
No, Brendan McGill wasn't. He was at Sunderland. He was much older than that. He was I'm trying to think of a good clue you can give here. Roddy Collins famously didn't realise he'd been sent off in a game.
I am at a loss.
He's a Northern Irish international, he was.
No.
John McCarthy is the answer.
Okay.
John McCarthy. He was sent off away at Bristol Rovers. And it wasn't until 20 minutes later that, I think it was like 20 minutes after the game that Collins realised that he had actually been sent off in the game because the dugouts are on the far side from where the tunnel was. And he'd basically gone straight down the tunnel and he sent off. And it was, I think, John Cunningham had to point out to him because he was saying, McCarthy's done sod all in this last 20 minutes. He was like, that's because he's been sent off or something like that. Anyway. Okay, so that's that one. The other was another Birmingham City player who played in this final. Okay, this is the joke one. He's not a player and he's not a manager, but he has an involvement at the club.
So he's some kind of coach or something. Is it Dennis Booth?
No.
He
currently has some sort of involvement in the club.
Okay. It's not Chris Beach, is it?
No, not a manager or a coach. That should have given it away telling you that.
Not really.
That's our favourite turtleneck wearing director of football.
Course.
David Holdsworth was an unused sub in that final.
Yeah.
That one doesn't count really. So if you're playing along at home and you want to say this in your WhatsApp group with your mates, don't include that one because he's not coached or played for us, so he doesn't really count. I just threw that one in for a bit of fun. The next one, okay, this was in 2000. Tranmere Rovers was the club he played for.
In 2000.
To give it away, probably it wasn't that long ago that he played for us, like 3 years ago.
Cole. No, I was going to say Cole Stockton. No way. He was probably wearing nappies at that time.
Yeah, I'll give you. Do you want me to give you a really obvious clue that'll give it away?
Go on.
Train cans. This man is a big fan of train cans.
Clint Hill.
Clint Hill is the answer. Yes, the man who loves a can on the way back from games on the train. What a guy. Okay, next up. Now, this one, he played in 3 different finals for 2 different clubs. He played in 98 and 97 for Middlesbrough and in 1991 for Sheffield Wednesday.
Ooh, we're going back some years now. No. Yeah.
I mean, to give it away, he wasn't a player.
Okay. Sheffield Wednesday and Middlesbrough. No, not a clue. So I'm guessing it's it's not John Sheridan, is it? Well,
no. John Sheridan is one of the other answers. So you've gone ahead there for one of the next ones. But no. I'll give you another clue. This man once fought off a pack of wild dogs with his own fists.
Nigel Pearson.
Yes, Nigel Pearson played in 3 different finals in 98, 97 and in 1991. Never won it though, I don't think. I think they lost all 3 finals he played in. So there you go. Clint Hill and Nigel Pearson we've just done there. Next up, you'll probably struggle to get this one because I think it was before you started going to watch games. But for people at home, we'll give the clue and see if they can try and get it. This was for Bolton Wanderers in 1995. Famously, it was against Liverpool. They played against them. Carlisle United against Birmingham City in the Ottawa Windscreen Shield final got a bigger attendance than this game that season. So there you go. So he played for Bolton Wanderers in 1995. He played for us. He only played maybe about 10 games for us in 2001 season under Ian Atkins.
No idea.
David Lee. Tricky little winger, David Lee. Before your time of watching, I think. So
yeah.
There you go. So David Lee was the next one. The next one, again, before your time of watching, but you might get this. Aston Villa 1994. This guy played for them. He was big centre-back.
It's not Dino, is it?
No, it's not Dino. God, no. They play at that level. I think he played for us in about 99-2000 under Martin Wilkinson. Came in towards the end of the season. It was a big part of the fact that we just about stayed up that season. He's from round about your way, actually. I think he's from Burscough way. I think he managed Southport for a short while as well. The answer's Sean Teal. The answer to that one. Next up, in 1993, 2 Sheffield Wednesday players played in the final who then went to play for Carlisle. One of them you've already mentioned, John Sheridan. He also played for Sheffield Wednesday in 1991. But this player, he actually played for Sheffield Wednesday in 1993 and Oldham Athletic in 1990 in the final.
No, Sheffield Wednesday. So he played for us. Wasn't a coach.
He played for us, and he only played one game for us. He's one of the one-game wonders.
Okay. Haven't got a clue then.
Famously, he plays in quite a few different positions. He was a bit of a utility player as a player. He also played for Blackburn Rovers. I think he won the Premier League with Blackburn Rovers, actually.
No, I have absolutely no idea.
Paul Simpson signed him. And the game he played for us, he famously played a game in a shirt that wasn't worn that often, the red and black one, away at Macclesfield.
Yeah. So it's that year that we went down then?
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah. No.
There was big expectations when we signed him because he was a quite high up player. Your mind's gone blank, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Paul Warhurst.
Okay. Yeah.
Paul Warhurst famously played that one game. As you mentioned there, Sheridan played in 93 and 91 and Pearson played in 91. I'm not even going to bother trying to give you guesses this one because this one's a long time ago. This one also in 1991 with Sheffield Wednesday. Peter Shirtliff played in that final, who we had on loan, I think, in the mid-90s. And obviously we mentioned Paul Warhurst there, played in 1990. So full list for anyone who's playing along at home. Naki Wells in 2013 for Bradford City. Anthony Gerrard in 2012 for Cardiff City. Ben Anick in 2009 for Tottenham Hotspur. Pascal Chembonda in 2008 and 2006 for Tottenham Hotspur and Wigan Athletic. Graham Kavanagh in 2006 also for Wigan Athletic. Lenny Pidgley in 2005 for Chelsea. Matt Jansen, who obviously won it with Blackburn Rovers in 2002. John McCarthy, and if you want to include him, David Holsworth in 2001 for Birmingham City. In 2000 for Tranmere Rovers, Clint Hill. Nigel Pearson did it 3 times in 1998 and 1997 for Middlesbrough and in 1991 for Sheffield Wednesday. David Lee for Bolton Wanderers in 1995. Sean Teal for Aston Villa in 1994. Paul Warhurst did it twice for Sheffield Wednesday in 1993 and Oldham Athletic in 1990. John Sheridan did it twice also for Sheffield Wednesday in 1993 and 1991. And Peter Shirtliff, obviously alongside Nigel Pearson in 1991 for Sheffield Wednesday. If people really want to go back, and there's another 6 in the finals before 99, but these were so obscure I didn't think people would get them. But basically the other ones are Andy Dibble for Luton Town in 1998, Gary Bennett for Sunderland in 1985, Derek Mountfield for Everton in 1984, Tommy Craig for Newcastle United in 1976, Brian Tyler for Aston Villa in 1971, and Stan Harland for Swindon Town in 1969. So that's the full list. So if you want to, in your little WhatsApp groups with your mates and stuff, you want to do the quiz with anyone, knock yourselves out and have a go at that one. There you go, Mike. A bit of an epic one, that quiz. I'll try and find a little shorter one next time. I like doing those ones because everyone can have a little guess at them, can't they, at home? It's always a good bit of fun. Once again, thanks for joining me. Really do appreciate taking a bit of time out on a Friday to join for this one. Let's just hope there's a game this weekend, eh? We're just hoping for that one. In terms of the specials, obviously we're not going to do a preview for the Forest Green because we've already covered that one. We'll be doing an episode towards the end of next week. We'll be putting the kit special episode out on Monday, I think, hopefully next week. So that's a nice one you can listen to before the Forest Green game if you want a bit more listening. We're also going to be doing an interview with one of the current playing squad next week on Wednesday. We'll be putting that one out the week after, hopefully. We're not going to tell you we're just going to let you know once it's finally done and in the bag and then published. So yeah, if you've got any comments or feedback, something you'd like to suggest we discuss, please send them in via Twitter to @BruntonBugle or by email to bruntonbugle@gmail.com, or you can find us, all 3 of us, on the Be Just and Fear Not Facebook group. If you haven't already, please remember you can subscribe to the podcast via all good podcast apps, including Acast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Please do also give us a review. We really appreciate the excellent feedback we've had so far. Had a look at the World Map of listeners before, Mike. There's no new countries on there. I mean, if you know anyone who's a Carlisle United fan and you're listening, and you know they live in some obscure country or live somewhere in Europe or they live, wherever, please do tell them about this. I think it's a great way for fans across the world to keep in contact with the club and, find out what's going on. And we're always welcome their, emails and telling us how they follow the club from abroad. It's always really interesting for us. But yeah, that's it. Like I said there, we'll have an episode out towards the end of next week. I don't know who it'll be with. Might be both of you, maybe Mike and Dan, might be just one of them. We'll have to wait and see, won't we? There you go. Mike, thanks for joining me. Really do appreciate it. Thanks everyone for listening, and up the Blues.